Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're doing 9.4.2, graphing more systems of inequalities here. It's just extra practice. Nothing really new here. Um, if you look at 9-101, we do have equations or inequalities, or one is an absolute value form, the other one is another linear equation that is not in slope-intercept form. So, highly advise you to put that in slope-intercept form. And then if you guys remember, if you're ever stuck on how to graph, you can always create an input-output table, okay, a t-table. So why don't you guys go ahead and start that first problem, 9.101, pause the video, and when you are done, come back and we will check your answers. All right, so far I've just graphed that first inequality of y is less than or equal to the absolute value of x plus 4. Created a t-table with the work shown in that middle column there. So when I plugged in a negative 4 into x, the absolute value of a negative 4 is a positive 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. So my first order pair is going to be negative 4 comma 8, which you see right there. Okay. Then I just did that with 0 and 4 as well, and those are my y values. So if you guys are wondering why I chose negative 4 is because I'm looking at this x value here that if I plugged in um, a value for x that would possibly cancel this out with a positive 4 and a negative 4, maybe could have done that, right? But because this positive 4 is outside of the absolute value bars, it doesn't really make a difference of what point you guys choose, but that was my reasoning, my chain of thought. So because it's less than or equal to, it's going to be a solid line. And then again, because it's less, I'm going to shade below. All right, so I'm going to graph the second equation right now. So if you're not done with the second equation, pause the video again and finish that second equation. All right, so here we go. For that second equation, I've graphed it in green. And to put it in slope-intercept form, I keep saying equations and inequality. So, put it in slope-intercept form as y is greater than or equal to 1/4 x plus 1. That's pretty easy to graph once it's in slope-intercept form, and it's that green line that you see. And because it's greater than or equal to, it's a solid line. I'm shading above. Shading above is going to be greater than. So I'm basically at this point going to look at where the two shaded parts overlap. And looks like it's about right there. Right? It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. That's your answer, the overlapping region. All right, let's move on to the next problem. And the next problem is 102. You can skip this problem. It's a great problem to do if you feel like extending your learning. It's a brief little activity here. But we're going to skip that, and we're going to jump straight into 9-103. 9-103 has 3 more inequalities for you guys to graph. I want you guys to do A right now. And when you're done, come back and see what we come up with. All right, so for all 3 of these, they're actually going to be the same lines, right? The only difference is the inequalities, and that's going to determine, obviously, which way you're going to shade. So let's look at problem A for that first inequality. Y is less than 2/3 x plus 3. And that 2x thirds plus 3 is that top line. And if I'm going to go less, I'm going to shade below. Okay. And then for the second part, it says y is greater than 2/3 x. So greater than, I'm going to shade above. So you're going to ask yourself, all right, which one is our overlapping graph? And it should be in that middle zone right there. This is going to be our solution. Okay. Again, if it lands on the line, it's still part of the solution because it is greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. Okay, so that pink shaded area is going to be our solution. Why don't you guys do the same thing for problem B and come on back. All right, so for problem B in that first one, y is less than 2/3 x plus 3. less than, it's going to be there. Okay, and then for the second inequality, we have y is also less than 2/3 x. So this one's a little bit strange. You don't really see this very often. The overlapping part is going to be the area below that bottom line. Okay, go ahead and pause it and try question C. All right, so question C is a little bit unique here. We're going to look for the overlapping region. First inequality is y is greater than 2/3 x plus 3. So we're going to shade above that line. And then the second inequality is y is less than, or equal to, excuse me, less than or equal to for both of them. So I'm going to shade below. So what's our solution here? What's our answer? Well, for this to be a solution, it must satisfy both inequalities. And basically, we have to determine where do they overlap, because these obviously do not overlap. There is no solution here. There's no solution that would satisfy both of these inequalities. All right, I just realized that's purple and yellow. Let's move on to that last question. That last question is just kind of close things up here in your learning log. It says to describe your method for graphing systems inequalities for a student who has missed class for the last couple of days. I want you guys to write a few sentences explaining in your own words how would you graph a system of inequalities. So pretend someone's been out, they just came back to school. Well, all of you guys have been out. But how would you explain it to them? What academic vocabulary would you use? Be as specific as possible. And then just title the entry, Graphing Systems of Inequalities. All right, that was a very short lesson, guys. You have any questions, shoot me an email. Otherwise, log into my weekly Google Meets, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon.